Hi VC. One of my favourite things to do on the VC is respond to vinyl tags. I love it. I'm inherently lazy, and it's great when someone else sets questions and I can just concentrate my efforts on just pulling stuff off a shelf that fits the bill. The latest one is by Alan, whose channel is Static Traveller, and it's the Charmingly Whimsical Vinyl Tag. And he set 10 questions, and I've got actually 11 albums to show you. Well, let's get started. The first question is a record with something related to dreams. So I've come up with Message and their album From Books and Dreams. They get lumped in with krautrock. They had, I think, a Scottish singer, and there's not much in the way of motoric beats or anything like that on this album. It is pure psych-tinged hard rock. This album is probably their darkest album of the ones I've heard, and all the song titles seem to be related to sleep and nightmares and dreams, so fits the bill perfectly. Great sort of Halloween artwork there. I'm a day late, I think, but hey. And this one is a reissue on the Bacillus Bellefonte label on urine coloured vinyl. So there you go. That is a record related to dreams. And the second question is a record with sweets, cakes or desserts on the cover. I was digging around trying to find a record with any of those things on the cover, and then it just hit me, why don't I show something with all of those things on the cover? And come with Jelly Roll and their self-titled album from 1970. As you can see, there's like every kind of confectionery going there, biscuits and cakes and sweets and fruit and the works. And this is it's fairly typical horn rock, probably a bit harder than Blood, Sweat and Tears or Chicago. There's some good hard rocking guitar on here, lots of swirling Hammond organ, and as far as horn rock goes, it is a really decent album. Question 3 is a fantastical item of transport: spaceships, trains, submarines, etc. Well, racked my brains with this one, and I came up with a Star Trek style teleporter. And it's Pipe Dreams album from 1979. Now I don't see this album talked about on the VC much, if at all. And I love this album, it's great. Features Tim Bogert of Vanilla Fudge, Cactus, Beck Bogert, A Piece. And when he died, I think it was January this year, none of the obituaries mention this album. There's a lot of mention of, you know, his better known bands, but this one was completely sort of passed by. And it's a great album. It sounds like a hybrid of, I suppose, Bad Company and Journey. Brilliant bluesy melodic hard rock, great vocal harmonies. And looking at the writing credits, it's not surprising there's a bit of a Journey element, because Steve Perry actually writes a couple of the tracks on here. So there you go, Teleporters, Pipe Dream. And there they are, having been teleported. And they must get extra points for inspiring Spinal Tap and their on-stage pods, I should think. So there you go. And it's a promo copy as well. And in fact, this one's probably quite hard to track down, because ABC Records went bust almost the moment this was released. So it only got a US release, and a very limited one at that. So might struggle to track that one down, but if you can, it's a really good album. Next up, question 4, a record with a fantasy world cover. I love Roger Dean's artwork, but I suspect a lot of those have already been shown. So I've gone with Hawkwind's Warrior on the Edge of Time, and their cover, which opens out. to what is most definitely a fantasy landscape. And on the reverse side, you've got the Shield of Chaos. And I love the imagination that went into sleeves like this. I don't actually know who did the artwork on this. I know Barney Bubbles did some of their art, but this one, looking at the inner sleeve, it just credits people for concept and art direction, but doesn't actually credit a specific artist. So whoever did it, well done. I love it. Really beautiful bit of artwork. Okay, and then next up, what have we got? A record to do with outer space. Plenty of choice with this one, but I've plumped for the soundtrack to the film Event Horizon by Michael Kamen and Orbital. And this is a fantastic soundtrack. I love it. It's I'm not a huge sci-fi buff, but this film is a real dark, moody, unsettling bit of film, and the soundtrack, yeah, reflects that mood perfectly. Michael Kamen brings a sort of ambient, modern classical feel to the record, but the Hartnell brothers have got their dark, pulsating, claustrophobic, industrial electronics all over the top, and it evokes a real mood of a spaceship adrift and prey to some sinister forces. It's a brilliant piece of music, and that artwork I think is gorgeous. So there you go. Question 7 is a TV show record, preferably a whimsical fantasy program. Well, I really struggled to find one that fit the bill, and then I remembered I had this, and it's Doctor Who sound effects. Unfortunately, it doesn't feature the Doctor Who theme tune, the Victoria Derbyshire piece, and it really is just kind of sound effects, random sort of sounds of lasers and, you know, TARDIS is taken off and that kind of thing. And I've toyed with the idea of getting rid of this occasionally, but I do love that artwork, and also my copy is signed by the then Doctor Tom Baker, so probably worth hanging on to that. Doctor Who. Question 7. A record with a cartoon cover or a cartoon somewhere on it. Well, I've gone with Grand Funk Railroad's All the Girls in the World Beware. And no, it's not a cartoon cover. It's their head superimposed on a bunch of real life bodybuilders, one of whom I know is supposed to be, or is, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Possibly that one? Don't know. But the insert that came with this is a cartoon insert. And a great cartoon. This was by a guy called Neil Adams, and he was an illustrator who whose artwork graced DC Comics and Marvel Comics. So Batman, Superman, the X-Men, I think he's famous for. And that's a particularly fantastic insert, I think. So there you go. Question 8, a record related to childhood. Well, this is related to childhood in a couple of ways. It's I suppose aimed at children. Also, it's very much related to my own childhood, because this was a record that I was introduced to by a teacher I had when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and I've got him to thank for knowing who the hell Harry Nilsson is, and for hearing the point. And this came out in 1970. It was made into an animated movie, I think in 1971, with Dustin Hoffman providing the narration. And I went to see the sort of musical stage play of this probably in about 1976, 1977, something like that. And I think for the first run of the play, Davy Jones from the Monkees was playing the lead character, Oblio. And when I saw it, Wayne Sleep, the male ballerina, had taken over the role and did a fantastic job. And is a great production as a sort of, whatever I was at the time, 9-year-old. It just opened my eyes to what great music was out there, and to, you know, what theatre offered as well. So it's certainly whimsical. Some people would think it was cloyingly whimsical, but then it is aimed at kids. But I still love it to this day. And I'm not alone. I know Jellyfish did a cover of Think About Your Troubles, which is on this soundtrack. There's some great artwork in there as well. And I'll, rather than picking up the camera and walking around the room, I'll put a picture up here of a framed poster I have, the original poster I got on my visit to the theatre back then. So it was at the Mermaid Theatre in London, which is a great little theatre. Okay, what's up next? A record with angels, fairies, nymphs, creatures of folklore. I can't think of anything more mythical than the thought of an angelic Ginger Baker. So there he is on the cover of the BBM album, the Bruce Baker Moore album, smoking a fag and wearing his angel wings. I love that. Very tongue-in-cheek, very whimsical, and it's a decent album. It's what you'd expect with the guys involved in it. You know, Jack Bruce, Ginger Baker, Gary Moore. It's a cross between Gary Moore's solo bluesy material and Cream. And the final question, question 10, is a record whimsically related to death and or with a grotesque cover. So I'm going to show both. So, whimsically related to death is this album by Pollution. Pollution 2. And they were very ecologically minded, ahead of their time, I suppose. This came out in 72, and they had a couple of albums before this. I know it's a Pollution 2, but they did have a couple of albums before this. Some people will tell you that they didn't, because their first album was called Air Pollution, and some people confuse that as the band name. But they had that album on Capitol Records, and when Capitol let them go after one album, they were signed to Prophesy Records. And Prophesy Records, I think, wanted to market them as a new band, so put out an album just called Pollution. Then the second album on Prophesy was called Pollution 2, their third album. There's 3 band members continued throughout all 3 albums, and on this one and on the self-titled album, Dobie Gray joined on vocals, you know, famous for Drift Away and In Crowd. So this is some real high quality, funky, soulful rock. And I've owned this album for 35 years at least, and it still gets a regular spin. I love it. It's such a good album. And that artwork, I think, definitely qualifies as whimsically related to death. You know, you've got your birds, you know, as skeletons. So we're killing the planet, killing marine life, killing ourselves. And all the songs are, well, a lot of songs are related to the environment and what we're doing to it. So with COP26 taking place in Glasgow at the moment as well, that seems pretty relevant. So that's an album related to death. Then one with the grotesque cover. Couldn't think of anything more grotesque than this Norman Haynes band album, Den of Iniquity. I have no idea what's going on there, but it looks like a couple of foul-looking beasts having a fight using naked human corpses as ammunition to chuck at each other. So yeah, like I say, no idea what's going on there, but I quite like it because it's grotesque and it's a really good album. Norman Haynes was a Hammond organ player and singer. He was in a band before, it's called Locomotive, whose album's also great, and lots of heavy guitar on here as well, so one that's worth checking out. So there you go, that is my offering for the Charmingly Whimsical Vinyl Tag. Thanks to Alan at Static Traveller for setting this one up. I really enjoyed these questions. Look forward to the next one, and I will see you all again soon.